A huge thank you to Robert Bishop for sponsoring today's video on Patreon. Marina Vendrell versus Ghyrson Starn, Braids, and Axonil. What is that, a 2-lander and a 5-colour deck with no green and no means of card draw into it, so I think we have to mulligan. Alright, now we've got Sol Ring, turn 1 ramp with Utopia Sprawl, a room. This is a room deck as opposed to generic 5-colour Enchantress, so I think we're alright to keep this one. It's funny, since the fast mana bans we're seeing lots of turn 1 Sol Rings, which is quite ironic. Alright, drawing to a piece of white mana, so pretty much all we are missing now is black. Let's just go for the Tiger, because we do need a forest for the Utopia Sprawl. And we'll just say black with that, seeing as how we've got double black in our hand. A turn 2 Bontu's Monument for Braids, followed by a 1-mana Zulaport Cutthroat, and already starting to drain us with the Monument. Down to 4 cards in hand though. The Izzet player plays an Izzet Signet. And okay, there's another new one from the most recent set, Fear of Sleep Paralysis. So throw down Scalding Tarn, we'll get some blue mana. And then we can get down a Sol Ring, obviously going to tap that for 2 mana. And we'll play the Central Elevator, just to maximise the amount of mana that we are making use of here. So with that we get to search for a room, and I'm not entirely sure which one to go for. I think I'll just go for some more ramp here, because we can get more card advantage hopefully from our commander. Razorkin Needlehead enters for the red player, so whenever an opponent draws it deals 1 damage to them. Starting to see a few more draw pain cards in recent sets. Braids is a nightmare for the black player, and the 1/1 goes into the right, and does decide to sacrifice at the end of the turn, so Zulaport going to trigger again, and Braids is going to have us lose some life, but that puts Razorkin Needlehead on the stack as well, because Braids does draw 3, but will have to take 3 damage himself. Expressive Iteration. Alright, and Izzet mana being held up after that, so don't think they're going to counter anything that we do. We get a ping from the Needlehead, and Plateau might have been what I tutored up with the Arid Mesa, so maybe just play that here. So we'll go straight in for Mouldering Gym, get to search our library for a basic, put it in tapped. And the one thing I don't like about these rooms is that they are cards that you have to tap in order to read them, so unless there's a rule that I don't know about, these should be untapped, but for the sake of actually, you know, being a legible card, Magic Online has decided to tap them, which is good. We'll just go for a forest here. Yeah, it's makes them a lot more aesthetically pleasing, but easier to read as well when they are not vertical. I'm not sure if that is the way that they are supposed to be played though. Arid Mesa, I think we have a tap land that we can make use of here, but do I want to make use of this for the Surveil? Yeah, if I thought about that before now, maybe I could have gone for the Plateau after all. Let's crack Arid Mesa and unlock that room so that we can make use of Surveil. So unlock Promising Stairs, which is, yeah, at the beginning of your upkeep. Surveil 1, if there are 8 or more different names among rooms you control, you win the game. That is, yeah, also at the beginning of the upkeep. So if we get our commander down and unlock this one as well, then we'll be halfway. Something tells me that's not going to be the way we win this one though. Oh, her Axonil gets down Kerr Keep and activates it straight away for a 0/1 Kobold. Vat of Rebirth, a good one with Braids. And then we see Morbid Opportunist, making use of Bontu's Monument again. Not getting into too many tokens that you can sacrifice though. The 3/3 threatening the mono black player now. Izzet Charm, in response to the Braid trigger, is 2 damage onto the Razorkin Needlehead. I was thinking of going for the 6 damage onto Braids next turn maybe. Although the longer Braid stays out, the more it's taking potential attention away from us. We're not going to sacrifice an artifact, as we assume the Vat of Rebirth has been sacked, so I'll have to take the 2 damage. Okay, awesome, and then the first sign of adversity, the mono red player scoops. So it is block number 247, but it's not a problem, because if it was, more people would be talking about it. The Kellamorph into play now. Alright, so we get the first Surveil from the Promising Staircase that we unlocked previously. And then we see another room. It's Greenhouse and Rickety Gazebo. When you unlock this door, mill 4 2 permanents from amongst them into your hand. I think we're alright to keep that on top. I mean, it's another room after all, we've only got a finite number of them. Alright, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we could get down a 3 mana room and have lands tapped for any colour. Or we could get down our commander first and see what we draw into. But the colours would have been... yeah, we've already dedicated to the colours at that point, so throw out the plateau and see if our commander survives a turn cycle, because we don't have haste for it at the moment. Managed to see a decent number of enchantments though. And there is Kenrith's Transformation. Might have to go on to the Ghyrson Starn, but let's just stick with the plan. We got into a 3-drop there as well, Mirror Room. Doesn't help us with just one creature in play. Might be good with the Eidolon of Blossoms or the Fear of Sleep Paralysis though. Let's just throw out the greenhouse to fix our colours. Did draw into a Grasp of Fate as well, which could also remove both of the commanders. And against a mono black and an Izzet player, we're going to do pretty well with the enchantments, I hope. Black doesn't have that many means of removing enchantments yet. Jadar played for just 1 mana and continues to drain us with the Monument. It's noteworthy next turn we could play this, remove something and then unlock Access Maze so that we can play something for free. Or not pay the mana cost at least. We'll have to see what the cycle around the table shows us here. A Virus Beetle. When it enters, each opponent discards. We've got the thing that returns permanents, not that one. Yeah, Rickety Gazebo can remove or return enchantments for us. So I want my land for next turn. I think just getting rid of the Mirror Room and the Fractured Realm will be okay. And then Sheoldred. So this one is each opponent sacks a non-token creature or planeswalker. So yep, didn't get to have our commander in play for very long in typical EDH fashion. So we will return it to the command zone. And Morbid Opportunist triggers there because a creature died, so they do draw a card, staying at 7 in hand, and their life total remaining quite high. And the 3-3 goes in towards the Izzet player again, getting down towards half of our life total. The 1-3 comes at us. Now with this Sheoldred, we need to think about an opponent having 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Okay, well there's only 3 over here, we've got 3 as well, so hopefully be able to dodge this for a short while. Anyway, the Virus Beetle sacrificed to Braids as we assumed it would be. And again, we're not going to sack our artifact, so we take damage. Coruscation Mage, and they did pay the offspring on that, so get another copy of it. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. We're getting a lot more each opponent effects in recent years. Preordained, scry 2 and draw, and will shock each of us. So we're getting battered by both sides here. And has something else after that. That is a Lava Dart, so 1 damage to any target. Goes on to the Jadar, which is always a good target to get rid of. Again, shocking us. And a creature dies, so Morbid Opportunist, keeping Braid's hand full. Up to 10 cards in hand now. So again, we surveil 1 with the Promising Staircase at the beginning of our turn. And there is a Dryad of the Elysian Grove, which would have been good earlier on, but now I think it's time for the graveyard. See if we can draw into something else of relevance. Another dual land. I think we're fine to get that into play. So how much mana have we got here? 4 for the Eidolon of Blossoms, leaves us with 3, 4 and 5 mana. So we could go for Grasp of Fate and Kenrith's Transformation. Yeah, let's do that. Eidolon of Blossoms cantrips when it enters. Alright, there's a cool one. Overlord of the Flood Pits. Don't think I'm going to bother impending that though. I'll probably play it for 5 mana at some point, maybe after a board wipe. Grasp of Fate to get rid of one of the Otters, and I think I'll go after the Sheoldred as well. Yeah, we have to put targets on the stack before we see what we draw with the Eidolon of Blossoms. Draws us into Freed from the Real. If we can actually get our commander online at some point, then that might be of some use to us. We can start machine gunning, unlocking rooms, which is obviously going to be useful for this one, which can win us the game. So we've got multiple targets that our opponents will want to get rid of now with regards to our enchantments. Kenrith's Transformation draws on its own entry, and then Eidolon of Blossoms obviously does as well. So there we see, yeah, even after a board wipe, which likely board wipe that's relevant to us is only something like a Cyclonic Rift, so Eerie Ultimatum, not the best card to have for us, but obviously really good with austere commands and cards like that. A Reliquary Tower for the mono black player who has a bunch of cards in hand now, and yet more removal, as you would expect from the black player, Demon's Disciple. But we got a decent number of card draw from the Eidolon of Blossoms while it was in play. Sacks his own Braids in order to get it back into the command zone. And replays Braids Arisen Nightmare. We go down to 17. Might have to take even more time off and go for a Fear of Sleep Paralysis next turn. More ramping the Charcoal Diamond, ending at 9 cards in hand, but will not have to discard hand size thanks to that Reliquary Tower. And the 1/3 goes in to the right. The Decayed Zombie will get sacrificed at the end of the turn, but deals 2 damage to us first. So we've got a decent... we can deal 6 damage and gain life equal to the difference, so we could just put it on the Demon's Disciple to gain more life, but I think it's better to force our opponent to replay Braids again. So we go down to 13. He made the decision for us by sacrificing his Demon's Disciple. So maybe Eerie Ultimatum's actually going to be more relevant than I thought it was, because we could always get the Kenrith's transformation back again to switch off the Braids. And it puts a couple of blockers in the way as well, gives us the room back to make another copy of something. Yeah, I think it might actually be worthwhile going for this. The Ghyrson Starn back into play again, and again going for the flashback with Lava Dart this time. So it bolts the Braids out of the way. So if we can afford the ward on this commander, maybe it's still worth going for Kenrith's transformation out of the bin. Could always go for this, unlocking a room as well. That'll be 4 to unlock this, grab the Kenrith's transformation and another permanent. So it'd be 4 to unlock that and 4 to play this onto the Izzet commander. Anyway, we'll see what we surveil here first. Could surveil something decent into the bin for an Eerie Ultimatum. Need to check we can actually afford it first. Yeah, we can just about afford it. Wild Growth can go into the graveyard. And that draws us into an island. That's fine. We can just play that this turn, I think. So yeah, let's just go for this simply because it's a fun play. Because we're really racing against time at this point. And that goes straight through, so the Izzet player isn't holding up any kind of counter magic or anything. We'll just grab all of our permanents back, as you often will with an Eerie Ultimatum in Commander. And that allows us into another room, so the transformation and the ward can be paid for with the Sol Ring. Wild Growth can just go on our untapped land. Okay, and the ward didn't go on the stack with that, so I'm guessing we don't target with the Eerie Ultimatum and auras. Well, whatever, didn't have to pay the ward as it happens. Draw a bunch to the Eidolon of Blossoms. Alright, and we've got a Cyclonic Rift of our own now. Can also make an additional land thanks to the Dryad of the Elysian Grove being in play. And more commander removal in the form of Song of the Dryads and the Oubliette. That is another room for us, Restricted Office. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Let's play a land in Manamo. And we've got a 7 mana room there with Lecture Hall giving all of our stuff hexproof, so I think that might be the one to go for here. It's noteworthy that this entered with both of the rooms locked because you have to cast the spell in order to have one of the rooms unlocked, and it just entered with the reanimation. So just going for ramp into hard casting here, apparently not making too much use of our commander. Did say I didn't want to make it generic Enchantress, but apparently that's what we've done here. A Walk-in Closet and Forgotten Cellar we draw into, and we'll just leave the turn at that. So I think at this point it has to be the Overlord that goes down. The Freed from the Real, apparently we're not going to be using our commander. Drawing plenty of cards so the new Entity Tracker can go as well. And I'll just get rid of the Wolf Willow Haven, even though it's easy card draw and ramp. Not sure how many rooms we actually have now. There's 2, 3, 4 and 5. So 3 more and we can win the game. Oh, it's noteworthy Braids has managed to stay in the graveyard there, so we'll assume that there's some kind of reanimation from our opponent. Blood Artist along with a Bontu's Monument we do not want to see. Braids doing a very good job keeping our life total ticking down. Pawn of Ulamog, hopefully not setting up a combo here. If he does, then there was never a whole lot we were going to do about it, I don't think. Cult Conscript enters tapped and can be returned from graveyard to battlefield for 2 mana. We're down to 10. Might be that the Izzet player can just knock us out next turn. And then Unearth onto the commander. A 3 mana commander comes out for free off the Unearth. Don't have to pay any life or anything. 8 cards in our opponent's hand and still has the mana to cast a Mind Stone. And is deciding to go straight through to combat after that, but not likely to swing in. So Braids going for the sacrifice. I will get rid of the Sol Ring here, I think, if he sacrifices that, but instead deciding on the Cult Conscript. This is a 3/3. I don't think we need the Eidolon of Blossoms. I'm going to save my life here and sacrifice that, although we lose a bit of life to the Blood Artist anyway, so the commander being sacrificed as well because he wanted to free it from the Kenrith's transformation. Pawn of Ulamog triggers to Braids' creature being sacrificed, as does the Morbid Opportunist, and Blood Artist is getting pointed at us, as we assumed it was going to. At least only losing 3 life as opposed to 5 there. But we still would have lost more to the Braids, assuming that Blood Artist was always going to be pointed at us. So I think it's definitely time to get down the cramped vents. Try and gain a little bit of life. Be interesting to see if the Izzet player can just knock us straight out here at 7. Alright, a Niv Mizzet Perun, a really good one. This triggers on instants and sorceries. Yeah, we don't have too many of those, thankfully. But I bet the black player has some in hand. And a deal could be struck. So do we just go for the Rift straight away? Buy ourselves as much time as we can. There's now 7 creatures in play, so we'd have to be careful of board wipes. Tropical Island, I think we will keep on top, because I have a feeling that we're going to want to make use of a lot of mana. So play that straight away. Let's see about gaining some life with the cramped vents. If we can afford Cyclonic Rift as well, I think we can. I think we'll have 4 mana left after that. So point that straight at the Blood Artist before it does any more damage to us. No sack outlets on our opponent's side of the field, so we can't sacrifice it in response to the target. Does get a trigger with the Morbid Opportunist for a card draw, another Eldrazi Spawn, and a Blood Artist. Blood Artist will hit us on the way out, I'm sure. And it does. Now then, does the Izzet player have an offer you can't refuse in hand or something like that? I mean, we can't really play around it, we just have to force them. Let's go for the Overload at sorcery speed. The Izzet player does draw a card to Niv Mizzet Perun because we are playing an instant. Only 4 instants and 2 sorceries in this deck. So draws and pings someone, probably us. Yep, goes straight at our face. And did he draw into counter magic for this? No, he didn't. Excellent. So that means that the Braids player has to rebuild here. Do we want to go for another room? You may play lands from your graveyard is a good idea, I think, because no, we don't have any lands in the graveyard anymore. Where did the fetches go? Oh, I haven't sacrificed them. There's one here that we can sack if we want to get another land drop, or we could just unlock something. Yeah, let's go for the Rickety Gazebo. It's probably going to be a good idea to play around unlocking rooms as opposed to playing more rooms from your hand, because that means that you're less susceptible to board wipes. So we mill 4 and return 2 permanents to hand. And there we see Mesa Enchantress with the new artwork, a Dollmaker's Shop, Verdant Catacombs I'll probably return, and a Roaring Furnace as well. Decided to return the land and the Dollmaker's Shop, so we'll just play the land. And we will leave it at that, I think. Might finally be able to get the tap land out with this. Although when we're teetering at 10 life, I don't suppose it matters. Yeah, couldn't get down one more room, unfortunately. If we'd had one more mana available to us, I'm not sure if we could have snuck down the Wolf Willow Haven at some point, but one more mana, and we could have gone for the Dollmaker's Shop there, and potentially have been winning next turn. So we have to dodge more pings from the Braids player now. So Soaring back into play for the black player, as you would expect. Bontu's Monument, and he might just have enough to near enough drain us out with that alone. Plays Braids for 2, followed by a Nightmare Shepherd, which is a flyer, so might have to eat removal at some point, assuming that we actually survive this turn, which, with only 1 mana, looks as though we're going to. There's still the Niv Mizzet Perun to dodge as well. A Shambling Ghast, that is -1/-1, or a treasure upon death. And then can sacrifice something to Braids, of course, at the end of the turn. We go down to 7. I think I'll risk our opponent. Yeah, he might have a haste creature, but I'll risk it here to save us life again. So we'll sacrifice the Dryad to our opponent's Shambling Ghast. Now Nightmare Shepherd is going to trigger. They decide to make a treasure token with the Ghast, and make a copy of it with the Demon. Also got access to the Forgotten Cellar, so we could overload the Cyclonic Rift with that if we wanted to. But I don't suppose it buys us that much time against the Bontu's Monument again. Maybe it will if we can... I mean, we can sneak down a 2-mana room, I suppose. Razorkin Needlehead. Good one from the new set, apparently. So maybe Cyclonic Rift isn't the worst idea. We're just constantly testing the Izzet player to have counter magic for us, though. But this would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It buys us another turn cycle, and it gets another room into play for us to win the game next upkeep. So let's see what the Surveil brings us. That is a Destiny Spinner. I'll keep that on top. How much mana do we need? Yeah, we'll have 4 mana after playing the 5-mana room and the Cyclonic Rift, so I'll just throw out Destiny Spinner just because. Might need a 2-mana enchantment for some reason and another creature. So we lose a life to drawing into that. We know that they've got Niv-Mizzet Parun in hand. There's another mystery card available to them. So let's see here. Maybe get down the new Gremlin Tamer as well, showing off a lot of new cards here, which is good. I suppose if we need any kind of chump blockers, then we've already lost, especially against the 4-4, but we'll just try to rely on the Cyclonic Rift here. Izzet player is holding up priority, which might be telling. So we'll just try the Forgotten Cellar. The Braids player is holding up priority with 1 mana as well. Do have hexproof on all of our stuff though, don't forget. Yeah, and it seems as though he's got something for us. There's a Counterflux. He did draw into a counter magic spell after all, so in that case it has to be some removal here. We've got 9 mana available, so let's go Song of the Dryads. I imagine the Braids player has his next turn anyway. Song of the Dryads can go onto the Nightmare Shepherd. And an enchantment entered there, so we get our first Gremlin token. And I haven't seen the artwork on this yet. That's what the Gremlins look like. So Oubliette will have to go onto the Braids as well and phase it out. And you can see how something like Gremlin Tamer would allow us to dodge Edict effects and stuff like that. Unfortunately, haven't drawn into things in quite the correct order during this game. But I think you get the idea with it. And we still need an 8th room, so it'll have to be the Dollmaker's Shop. Argument to be made in hindsight, maybe I could have gone for the Oubliette onto the 4-4 flyer, and then Song of the Dryads onto this, so that they can't drain us out as easily. But I think we've been swimming against the tide most of this game anyway. See if they can get 6 creatures into play for a Bontu's Monument. Got 12 cards in hand, so there's every chance. It'll actually only have to be 5 creatures if the Razorkin Needlehead stays in play. Although this triggers during the upkeep, I think, so we would dodge drawing into Draw Pain. Pawn of Ulamog can make creatures, but they don't have any kind of Blood Artist effect at least. The Izzet player might have to interfere with our opponent, although we know he's only got a Niv-Mizzet Parun available to him, because he's gone down to 8 life as well. Oh, well, there we go. Our opponent always had it, I think, whether we got rid of the Bontu's Monument or not. I mean, we did get rid of a decent amount of devotion, but they would have had 2 additional devotion had we have kept the Braids in play and got rid of the Monument instead. So yeah, taking us both out with that. Braids did really well there. For all the love for Braids, I haven't really seen it work as efficiently as it did during that game, just constantly chipping away at us. But we got to show off what the deck does at least, even if we didn't get to make use of Marina all that much. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. Big thank you to the patrons for their support of the channel financially. You can do so yourself via the link in the description below. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.